as promised, we are going to start off today with an incredible interview. I'm really excited. Today is going to be a lot of fun. So I have Bern on the line, also known as PSYLIN.DNB on Instagram. Bern, could you introduce yourself?
Hi there, yes, thank you so much for having me on the show. So I am Bern. My name actually gets pronounced Baron, but I know people always say Bern when they when they read it. And my drum and bass alias is called Silent. And I'm currently living in Johannesburg, all the way from Port Elizabeth, and I am 31 years old.
That is an awesome introduction. So you say it's Baron.
Yeah, Baron.
Okay. So for those who aren't familiar with you as a drummer and what you do, could you give them a little bit of a brief explanation as to what it is that you do?
For sure. So at the moment, what I'm doing with drums is I am putting together a drum kit that I feel eliminates a lot of the issues that drummers has these days, which is being too loud and also not taking up too much space on the stage. And I'm kind of now crafting a drum kit where I can address both of those issues and just kind of stand and jam, preferably with a DJ. Kind of moving away from the whole band scene now.
So that's actually a really cool concept. It's actually not something I've seen before, which I really like. So before we get more into the drumming, I'd love to talk a little bit more about your 9 to 5. What is your 9 to 5?
Cool, yeah. So my 9 to 5 is I'm a lecturer at SAE Institute in Rosebank. And we teach music technology and like gaming and animation and film and stuff like that. So I'm obviously a sound lecturer there, and I teach electronic music production as well as live sound production and audio post production, which I would say is probably my favorite one out of all of them, because creating sound effects is a lot of fun.
I can imagine so. So you're very heavily involved in the music and sound world, from your passions to your actual 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
So
much.
I have to ask where your interest in drumming began. Was that sort of the spark into music, or had that started later on in your life?
So especially I really like that question because it's it goes quite far back, and I started out with a bunch of different instruments before I got to drums. My sister is she's 4 years older than me, and she's very musical, right? And when I was very young, she was one of those people that she can just pick up any instrument and play any instrument, right?
Oh wow!
So then obviously me being the younger brother, I was also tested in all of these instruments.
Yeah.
And so I was playing, and this was literally from grade 1. I was playing clarinet for 3 years. I was playing guitar for 2 years, bass guitar for a year. I played keyboard for 2 years, trumpet for like a month.
So you're like the whole band then?
So I did so many instruments to check out, what resonates with me. And honestly, I just didn't feel any of them. And then when I was 12 years old, I went to my first drum lesson, and I just immediately fell in love with it. And I was telling my dad, this is the instrument, this is the one.
That is amazing.
And I think he kind of kept that to last because of the noise thing, So he was like,
yeah.
Damn it, okay. And then he was like, okay, cool. And he took me to lessons and stuff. And then it was right before I went into high school. And when I got into high school, I started playing in bands and things. And, then obviously just the whole music journey started.
That is amazing.
There was so much opportunity, to jam.
Yes.
And that's just the only thing I wanted to do,
So we're going to go into some music. We're actually going to go into some of Baron's music. We've got an ad, and then we've got 2 of his songs. So make sure to stay tuned and listen to them. So that incredible song was Silent. It was by Silent. It's called Dead End. We are actually chatting to him on air right now. We're having an incredible interview and just learning a little bit more about what he does. Let's talk a little bit more about your journey. So I know that you were in a band. Tell us more about your band days.
All right. So yeah, my band days, they were like the start of everything, and like I mentioned previously, I just kind of got into high school when I started with drums, and I was just obsessed with metal. Anything metal, nothing else, just metal. So I just wanted to play every metal song that existed, you know. So I was really trying to like gather metal bands and rock bands, and you know that was the vibe for me at that time. And there was one band. I obviously played in a bunch of different bands. There was one band that actually um, like did really well while I was in high school. It's like an Afrikaans rock band, but all of the members in the band were very metal influenced. So like all of our breakdowns were like so heavy, and we just absolutely loved it. And then we actually took part in a national competition, like a battle of the bands. That happened around the country, and there was like I think 45 or 46 bands, and we came second in this whole thing. And then that obviously like just kind of sparked my interest way more in the whole back end of music, where I saw recording studios and I saw the whole live setups and I saw all of those type of things. So yeah, thanks to the band days and thanks to all those things that I went through, I could see, you know, all the tech side of, you know, of that, and that like really interested me into like kind of go and study music at the end of the day. Um, you know, not accounting, which I was actually bound to go and do.
Wow. That's a
luckily
very
because
big
yeah,
switch.
luckily because of all this band stuff that happened, it was like, um, yeah, it was just like we just realized so many things, and it was like music videos, and they flew us down to Johannesburg because you know I was obviously in Port Elizabeth still at the time. So we were constantly playing up here and live on TV, so it was just such a big deal. I think that also like convinced my parents a bit, like, you know, I kind of really want to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really taking it seriously. And then in matric, it kind of shifted. I was like, nah, guys, I'm definitely gonna go study music. I'm not gonna do
That's
accounting. Sorry.
amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. So like I've got so much praise for, you know, the band days. And then obviously after that in university, that's how I obviously made like a nice little extra buck, is just to play gigs with
Yeah.
these bands that I already was in. So that helped a lot. But yeah, like but obviously all of that changed because like I went into the electronics.
Yes. So I actually have quite a few listener questions, and one of the questions are,
Mhm.
drums allowed. What did your family/neighbors think about your practicing?
Oh, great. I love that question because we were on a corner. We were staying on a corner, right? So that was advantage number one. Advantage number two, we had a daycare. My mom was running a daycare at the back, like back part of our house, like the backyard, because we
Yeah.
stayed right opposite the primary school that I went to. So there was like constant loud noise all the time around the house. So when I played, I remember my mom was telling me like the kids that were at the aftercare were like so interested in like what drums are they hearing.
Oh wow.
So luckily there was a lot of noise already going on, and I actually only got a real acoustic drum set when I was 16. So when I started off, I got an electronic drum kit because of the volume.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so then the volume knob, obviously you can just plug in headphones and you
Yes.
can just jam like that. So, you know, in the start it wasn't a problem. And what I did at that time is I would just jam normal drums during the day. And then, you know, from like 5 o'clock on, I'll just jam electronic drums during the night.
That's amazing. So we're going to go back into some music, and we're actually going to play another two of your tracks. So please, everybody, stay tuned and listen to these incredible tracks. Those two incredible tracks were by PSYLIN, aka Bern, who we're chatting to today. That was Hexed and Blackpool. So we're gonna get back into our chat, and so Baron, you said that you were in a band, and as things have gone over the years, you now work with DJs. So I'd love to know,
Yes.
firstly, how that works, and also how you came up with that idea.
All right. So because of me being in Port Elizabeth at that time, and being so involved in like the band scene, I was thinking at that time like there is like a handful of venues where bands can actually perform, but there are so many venues where DJs can perform. And I was just thinking, it's just like the stages are too small and stuff. So I completely understand, why that's the vibe. But then I was just like, I would like to jam on all the stages.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was just thinking, how would I be able to get on there? And luckily, I really liked drum and bass already at that time. And one of my friends, he's still a DJ. His name is Energy Field. He was also kind of thinking the same thing, and we kind of just sat and chatted. And I remember he was playing me drum and bass songs on his cell phone, and I was just tapping on his shoulder the drums. So I was just like playing the drum on his shoulder while he's playing the song on my phone. And we're like, you see, it can work. And we're like, okay, well, let's try this thing then. And then I just kind of took my drum kit to the venue that he usually played at, and just set it up right there, kind of in the dance floor, because again, there wasn't a physical space for a drum kit, just for a DJ. So my drum kit always had to be in front of the DJ, in between the crowd. So there's actually, we called ourselves Fifth Element.
Okay.
Right, me and him. And there's actually some videos on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and you search Fifth Element drum and bass, I think you'll probably find some stuff. But like, I look completely different. My hair is unbelievably long, and it's very bad quality GoPro footage and stuff. But there you can actually see the drum kit live, like between the crowd. And it was actually so nice because the crowd is much, much different from like a rock crowd to like ravers. So much different. One thing that stood out to me always was the ravers would hand me shots constantly while I'm playing. And that was just always so funny, because obviously my hands are very busy.
Yes, yeah.
So I can't really just take it. So that was always very funny.
So when did you get into making drum and bass music? So you said you were already a fan and then you started doing this. Was it around the same time that you started making drum and bass music?
Yes, because at this time, this was now 2013. And then I was in my second year of studies, and I studied BMUS, did my honors in that, and I majored in music technology. So in our second year, we started learning about, going into software and like starting to create like electronic music and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to obviously try and create drum and bass.
Yes.
And I remember at that time, I really struggled a lot with it. I created a bunch of stuff, but it was really not good. But like, I was just loving the process. Like I knew it wasn't good, but I just loved the process. So at that time I did it, and I kind of stopped with drum and bass specifically after like 3 years of that. And then I started getting into drum and bass specifically again. I think it was like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I think 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So I believe you have mentioned that you've got a custom drum kit. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you have sort of solved the problem of space and noise, I guess?
Cool. Yeah. So it's quite a setup, because just getting everything to work in the software, and like cables and all those things. It's quite a thing to think about. But essentially, I took my electronic drum kit, the one that I first got when I was like 13, and I completely like dismantled the thing, so that because obviously it's like set up for a drummer to sit and play. And I took off a lot of the parts and just kind of extended it upwards so that I can stand and play. And I was like, with drum and bass, I don't really need toms and stuff. I just need a snare drum and a hi-hat, just so I can play that, so I can just get that going, because that's like essential,
Yes.
And so I was like, cool, now I can stand and do that. And I had the kick drum included in that, but I actually, when I started recording the videos of me playing it, I excluded the kick drum. because it interferes too much with the music that's already playing, as
Okay.
well as just because it's like bass frequencies. And the other thing was, what is the other thing? Oh yeah, I just actually wanted to like, jump around a bit and like, just
Yes.
like dance myself a bit, just like enjoy it because I really dig it. So it really feels like it gives me freedom to not having to use my feet for a
Yeah.
kick drum.
Yeah.
So I completely move that out. And then also I've got, so on the side of that, so now I've only got, like a snare and a hi-hat. And then I added a SPD sampling pad. So basically what that is I can preload sounds onto this. And originally I wanted to load songs onto that. But I was thinking it's better if I just add more percussion, so just more drum sounds on there, so that I've got, just like kind of 4 drum kits at the moment that I'm playing with. And I think
Yeah.
that's what it works out with if you count, a snare and a kick and hi-hats and all those things. It works out that I'm playing on like 4 kits at the same time. So I can just kind of move all between them. And then all of this gets fed into Ableton, which is the software I use, and in there I'm just controlling all of the sounds, which is on all of the pads that I play.
That is
And
so
yeah, like that I
awesome.
can just stand it.
That is awesome. Okay, let's listen to another one of your tracks, and when we come back, we're gonna continue this incredible conversation. That was an incredible, incredible song. I am having so much fun. I'm really enjoying all of this music. So we're gonna go back to chatting with Baron, and I really, really want to know what one of your favorite memories through your drumming career has been.
All right, so actually, if I can categorize these memories, I'd say I've got one big memory from the band days, and I've got one big one from the drum and bass jamming with the DJ days.
Okay, I'm very keen.
um, so with the band days, obviously one thing that stood out a lot was when we were playing on TV. That was a really really big deal for me, and it was so stressful. That is the biggest thing I remember from it, is it being so stressful, but so much fun because like, yo, what is happening here?
Yeah.
So that was a big memory for me there. And with the drum and bass days, yeah. So me and one of my friends, we decided it's a good idea to, those little banana skateboards, those little skateboards,
Yeah.
right? So we decided to both get on it and then drive just like on like a big big road down a hill. And that
That
didn't
sounds
work
very
out quite
dangerous.
as we thought. Yeah, didn't work out quite as we thought. And and we had a little accident, and I was in crutches after that, and
Oh
my main
no.
foot that was affected was my right foot, right, which is my kick drum foot. And this was 1 week before me and this DJ I was playing with, so Fifth Element, before we opened at this event called Bass Wars. And I really wanted to play this event. So I was like, I'm going to play this event if it happens or not. So I went, obviously I had some painkillers from the doctor, which helped a lot. Had some beers from my friends, which helped a lot. And then and then essentially went on to stage and I played the whole thing. And obviously because of it being drum and bass, it's very fast and intense.
Yeah.
And when our set was done, and we played very long sets, we played like an hour and a half set, and at that time I'm like completely broken.
I can imagine.
And I remember when we were done, my foot was the wound opened up while I was playing, and I
Oh
didn't realize.
no.
And yeah, my whole foot was wrapped in this, like, looked like a mummy foot. It was like whole mummy foot. And then and then after the show, I look down and the whole thing is just red, and there's just blood
Oh
around the
no.
like drum pedal and stuff, and like my foot is so sore I can't even stand up.
Oh
And the
shame.
DJ just runs down from his booth, and he says, "Get on my back. He's gonna piggyback me." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds great." And then I got onto his back, and for some reason he started running with me up through the crowd, and about halfway we fell,
Oh no.
and and I'm on his back. So obviously you can
Oh
imagine my legs
gosh.
are like my
Yeah.
legs are going to the front because I'm falling on that leg. So that was just a very funny night. We had a lot of laughs, about it right after. But I would say that's one memory that really stood out. It's one memory I will never, never forget.
I really like that. So you're originally from PE, and you say that you're based in Joburg now. How did you find? How did you find it was getting into a new scene, into a new city? Is it difficult? Have you found that it's been easy?
So it definitely is difficult in the sense of you have to go out and go into this industry. It's not just going to find you. You have to do something. And what my game plan was is, obviously I was like, cool, drum and bass, I love it. I'm just gonna, that's the community I want to be part
Yeah.
of. And first thing is, of course, support the events. Number one, you
Yes.
know. So I just started going to all the drum and bass events. Just kind of checking out the DJs. Just being there, just being part of it. And one thing that I personally looked at, like, I'm not saying this is the method or anything, but like I was just checking, like, who looks very friendly, because I'm gonna reach out to those people.
Yes. Yeah.
And and then the first person I reached out to was son of Dodd, Tom Dodson, who is the MC at all the church events.
Mm.
And because he looks very friendly, and and he was very, very friendly. And we started, and I was making drum and bass again, so I was like, I know he raps,
Yeah.
so cool, come rap on my song.
That's
So
awesome.
I've got something to do. And then I just started making music. I was just focusing on that, and also just like using people to collaborate with, that are already in the industry. And that helped a lot to like kind of just get into the industry,
Yes.
or into like the drum and bass community, again. And yeah, now obviously with this drumming thing, I've got a lot of exciting things coming up as well, which I'm gonna do, like basically these videos, but with a DJ included.
Okay.
And I feel like there's so much room for that, because you hardly see like the instrumentalists and the DJs collaborate.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can do this now, because the drums are controlled now. It's not just loud and in the way.
Yes.
It's actually controlled, so it can actually like benefit the music now. It's not just taking over.
I get you. So what is your like your goal for your drumming career in Joburg, and how can somebody listening sort of support and help with that goal?
So I would say my goal with this is to yeah, I just really like jamming drum and bass. So I just really want to keep on performing it,
Yes.
if it's online or even if it's live, because I think kind of that's where I'm going with it, is to do this live with a DJ. But either way, as long as I just keep performing it, I'll be happy with it. And by supporting me, I would say, if people can just watch the videos, share the videos, yeah, just support my content. That'll be great. If they think it's cool.
And if there are DJs in Joburg who are listening who are keen on doing something like this, how can they connect with you?
So definitely through Instagram. That is my main way of communicating and reaching out to people, is through Instagram. So for sure through that. And when I start with this new series, I feel like I'm gonna be quite proactive with it. So I feel like I'm gonna be contacting a lot of DJs at that time as well.
That's awesome.
Specifically drum and bass DJs, of course.
That's awesome. So I mean, we've been playing some of your music today, and we know that you're in the music production world. But how much music have you made? Do you know the number?
I do not know the exact number, but what I can tell you is that what I've got released physically on like Spotify and all those streaming sites are 17 songs.
Okay.
But then in the music that I make, there's a lot of stuff that is not released. For example, I've made a pop EP for this artist called Shimilo Crystal, who's also doing really well in like the pop scene in South Africa at the moment. And I make a lot of cinematic music and stuff for games and movies, which I obviously enjoy a lot. I really like doing that whole thing. You can find all of those tracks on my website. There's a website. The link to my website and to all my things again on Instagram. That's where you'll find all these things. So that's where you can actually see some of my other compositions and stuff also that I've done.
Sorry, can you actually shout out your Instagram just so people know where to find you?
Cool. Yeah. So it's at PSYLIN, PSYLIN.DNB.
So
the
definitely go.
.DNB is just for drum and bass.
Definitely go and connect with him and find more of his things, find more of his music, and watch his videos. If you haven't seen them and you're not sure what we're talking about, go and check them out because they're really entertaining. They're really awesome. So we're going to go into a couple more of your songs just so people can get a really good idea of the incredible drum and bass music that you make. So stay tuned for that. We've been having a really awesome interview. We've had some incredible questions and answers, and I've learnt a lot. I hope you have too as the audience. Bern, I'm going to actually go into some of the listener questions because I actually have quite a few of those. Somebody has asked how much cardio you get from drumming. I imagine quite a bit. Sorry about that. Bern, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go into some listener questions. I have quite a few of them.
Cool.
Somebody has asked how much cardio you get from drumming.
I don't know exactly, but I definitely break out a sweat every time I do, and it's heavy on my arms and my legs.
I can imagine.
So I would say it's quite hectic. Specifically with drum and bass as well. On my hands and my forearms, it burns literally when I play like that.
I can definitely imagine so. I have another question here. When you started to listen to drum and bass, were you aware of the breaks, example, the amen, the funky drummer, that formed the basis of the music, or did you discover that later?
Honestly, I would say it captured my attention, but later. Like, I was first just going to festivals and I remember, like, they'll have like a trance tent, but then they'll also have like the drum and bass and dubstep tent. Those two were usually together. And then I remember when we went there, like this drum and bass thing that I was hearing with like dubstep, we all kind of knew.
Yeah.
But drum and bass was like very new to me. I was like, what is this? It's so fast. I like it. And the bass actually really captured me, the bass line. But I noticed the drums, but that was not the main thing for me. The bass lines was like, yo, this is heavy.
I totally get that. We have another question. How has your live drumming been received at drum and bass events? Do people still need to get used to it? Is it something that they really enjoy?
Right. So back in the day when I did that, because I've not started doing it live as to yet with this whole new setup. But when I did it with acoustic drums there, it did really, really well. We only did it for 1 year. This project was only a 1 year project. And in that 1 year, we toured all over the Eastern Cape, and we headlined at so many events because people were saying it is something different than just a normal DJ, if you see a normal DJ. Because of that, I think it really went well. That's why I think it has so much potential that when I moved to Joburg, specifically when I was in PE in that scene, I was always hearing about, Joburg, the Joburg scene in drum and bass. Like the Joburg scene is so heavy, so big, and da-da-da. And I remember there were people constantly from Joburg coming down to play at PE, So like Joburg was like this place in my mind that I was like, yo, drum and bass heaven,
Yes.
And that's why when I moved here now, I was like, okay, cool, I'm here now. I want to try and get this going. And just had chats with DJs and just heard that, again, the general problems, too loud, too much space.
Okay, there's another one. What does it feel like when you are playing live or accompanying a recorded track? Do you feel like you really need to focus hard to match the music, or do you feel a sense of freedom?
That's a cool question. I honestly feel like I feel a sense of freedom because I took the kick drum away.
Okay.
If I were to stand there and play with the kick drum and my hands, it's a little bit more concentration, because then you're just thinking of it all, and also standing and playing for a drummer is very weird.
Yes, yes.
So, I have to like think about it, and that makes me feel, way more robotic, where when I took that away, I feel like I'm literally like I'm jumping around a bit while I'm playing, and that makes me feel like I'm just like at a rave dancing with the music,
Yes.
except my hands are just kind of moving with it. So I think that's a big factor, that I took away the kick, made me feel like I'm free and I'm enjoying it. I do not have to think about it too much. I was recording again 2 days ago, and I recorded 19 new songs in like an hour.
Wow.
And that was just because I was really feeling like I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
Like the first time I was recording this, I did like 3 tracks in an hour,
I get you.
because
Yeah.
I had to like really focus, and yeah. So I think that's a big thing. So I'm really just kind of enjoying it now, and just like free flowing with my hands.
So there's a second part to that question. Do you match the breakbeat employed in a song, or do you freestyle?
I freestyle over it.
That's so incredible.
When I hear that there's like a specific rhythm, like sometimes you get that typical main beat,
Yes.
and then sometimes you get one that goes, like a lot of songs has that in, and then if I were to just improv the normal main beat over that, it sounds quite strange. So it's also dependent on the song. If the song is kind of vibing on that beat, then I just improv in that space of that beat, if that makes sense.
Yes, I get you.
Cool.
Okay, so we're going to go in and listen to the last 2 songs that I actually have of yours. And then when we come back, we're going to continue. I've still got a couple more listener questions. And this is so interesting. I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope that the listeners are as well. So we have been having such an incredible interview this beautiful Friday. And we have played quite a few incredible songs by Bern. So he goes by the name PSYLIN. That's PSYLIN. We have listened to Black Pill, Clutch It, Dead End, Hexed, Scene, Stella, and Trust Me. So if you want to find his music and you want to find where you can listen to it and just jam out to it, check him out on Instagram at PSYLIN.DNB. That's at PSYLIN.DNB. You can also find him on Spotify if you want to just listen to his tracks. They're really awesome tracks. We have him on the line with us, and we are busy going through some of the questions I've gotten from listeners. So, are you ready for the last few questions, Bern?
I am ready.
Awesome. So, one of the listeners have asked how the videos you make drumming on your own are different from when you're playing live.
I prefer the video thing in terms of much less stressful. So when you record the videos, I'm just there in the studio, and I can just take my time and do it as many times as I want, and just try and get it perfect,
Yeah.
Whereas live, it's like, you're there now, you're doing it, this is what it is. Which is like fun in its own way, about that excitement and adrenaline. But yeah, I would say recording the videos by my own, I enjoy that more, just because it's more relaxing and more stress-free than performing.
That makes a lot of sense. I have another question. I think you'll enjoy this one. Are you the coolest lecturer on campus?
Yes.
I love that. All the confidence, absolutely yes. That one's great. I love the confidence in your answer.
I'm just gonna commit. Yeah, I'm just committing. I'm like, yep, cool, sure.
And then I have quite an interesting one here. Do you have advice for somebody wanting to produce music but with no musical background? Should they start making a 4-bar loop or just mess around with sounds and samples?
So I think that that's also a really cool question, because it's in terms of, I think a lot of people, when they just do the producing thing, they kind of forget about how you would learn a normal instrument, in terms of get a song you really like,
Yeah.
right? And then try and create that song. Because if you think about someone playing guitar, right? Let's say you start playing guitar, you're gonna hear a song that has a nice guitar in it and think, yo, I want to play that.
Yeah.
And that is where, I think that is where the first spark of interest comes, in like someone that wants to make music or do music things.
Yes.
Is, wow, that makes me feel a certain way, and I want to recreate that feeling.
Yeah.
And just like an instrument, where you would then learn those songs that you like a lot, and then eventually you've learned the songs, and then you can start creating your own songs because you've learned so much. So I think the same thing applies to production. If there's a song you really like, let's say a drum and bass song, literally throw that song into your software and try and recreate exactly that song, because you're not going to do it exactly like that.
Yes.
So it's anyway going to come out as your own version, but you would just learn so much, and you would learn so much quicker as well if you just like go for a genre that you're really passionate about, that you really want to create, and then just try and copy that song. And that's going to be, you're gonna ask all the right questions for yourself to create that song, so you know what to YouTube and you know what to go and search for.
I like that a lot. So I have one last question for you. What advice would you give to somebody out there with an unconventional idea in the music world, wanting to pursue it but feeling nervous?
So specifically, if it's like an idea, something new that you want to create, because you can imagine that I get this with my students so much as well. Over the years, I've heard so many genres that has just never been created. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of the things of people think like these very big goals, and then they get overwhelmed by it, right? So they think, I've got this new, I want to make this new genre that don't exist. And I just say, before you do that, just take the steps to get there first.
Okay.
So what I would say is, don't try and recreate the wheel at all. Like, if it's drum and bass you like, or let's say it's hip hop you like, right? Then go into the hip hop scene, kind of produce some of the hip hop music and be involved in the music aspect, so that you understand the genre, and then make it your own. Then bring your own thing into it. And if I can give you a nice example, do you know Flume? Right now Flume is a really cool example of that. Is with his music, he took that normal like house rhythm you'll find, where it will just sound like and he just kind of displaced the hi-hat to make it kind of sound like a swing. So it went, it's still just, but instead of the normal house, he just made it, he just displaced the hi-hat. So it went, which gave it like a whole swing feel. And immediately, if you listen to that, you're like, oh, that sounds like a Flume song. Yeah. See, so he already took something that exists and he made it his own, instead of just like jumping into this whole industry being like, I'm going to make something completely new. Rather just familiarize yourself with what is already out there and take like little steps towards that. Little steps. Because otherwise it's going to be so overwhelming that you're going to end up not doing it.
Yes, no, I like that. That's actually such a good way to approach things, because music and instruments, and whether it's from DJing or music production or actually just learning an instrument, it is a difficult thing to start, and especially if you're starting as an adult. So I like that, take it piece by piece and sort of learn as you go along. So that actually concludes our interview, but I'd really love for you to just shout out your handles, where people can find you, where they can follow you.
Okay, cool. So I'm PSYLIN. My handle for Instagram is at PSYLIN.DNB. please go and support my tracks, support my videos of where I'm drumming. And if you have any song that you would want me to cover, even if it's your own drum and bass song, please just send me an inbox message, and I'll probably definitely reply. And yeah, then I'll cover one of your tracks as well.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show and for taking time out of your day to do this.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me on it.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. So please go and support his music. Go and find him online. Support what he's doing. He makes such incredible music, as you've heard here today. So definitely support it. Show him some love. And go and check out his videos. His videos are so awesome. I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to PSYLIN for being on this episode of The Creative with Jasmine Kai. It was such an incredible interview to have. He was such a fun, entertaining guest. I had so much fun doing this interview. I hope that he enjoyed it, and I hope that you've all showed him some love. If not, make sure to do so. Show him some support. He's doing some awesome things. Thank you, PSYLIN, for being on this episode.